Welcome back, gang, to NopeOpePod. I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Hyland.
Yeah.
With the new setup, it's hard to give Lance a space to sit. Don't worry. We're going to fix the setup and kind of get it settled, and we'll have a spot for Lance. He will have his seat somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
But for a few episodes, he might not be in it. We haven't kicked him out. He doesn't want to be here. But with that being said, today we talk about aging and birthdays.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, I think it's it's a super interesting topic, and I think one of the things that it's really cool about this podcast in particular is the significant difference
An age gap.
in age, right? And I think that allows for some interesting conversations, and I hope that this isn't the last one, but I think that this is a pretty solid first introduction, and I think that there's some cool conversations and some cool different ideas. And for me, like, I honestly had like a revelation that totally rocked my world, and I'm still gonna kind of have to process here. But yeah, it was super fun for me. Like, I enjoyed it because I think these are things that, like, my birthday's coming up, and like, I'm obviously thinking about things, but yeah. So no, I appreciate the opportunity, and I think it was a cool conversation, and I hope people enjoy.
Yeah. So, well, with that being said, gang, enjoy the episode. So, do you have any opening thoughts on the topic of aging or anything like that?
Oh man, I definitely have some opening thoughts.
Okay.
For example, I just went into the bathroom just to check to make sure like there was some sort of semblance of trying to look presentable for the podcast.
I was looking in the mirror.
Well, that's the thing, man. I looked in the mirror, and like usually I'm like, oh, like, how's the hair? Like just like kind of like put it in some sort of shape,
Same.
whatever. Yeah, exactly. We're on the same page there.
Yeah.
And then, but so I looked, and it's just amazing. Every single time that, I have to get my coaster. Every single time I look in the mirror, I just, because I think both you and I have had some difficulty sleeping recently, and like the bags or whatever underneath my eyes are just like, to me, so noticeable and so just like popping out. I'm like, buddy, like you look poor, right? You look like you are just suffering. And it's just amazing because like aging is such a tricky process, because in my mind, and I think everybody says this, they say, oh, I feel like this X amount of age or whatever, but in reality, you're this age, whatever. But yeah, just the idea of, we both kind of celebrated birthdays within the last month. I think that's an interesting process just in itself. And then just like the idea of what's important to you as a 27-year-old, and then what's like important and what I'm thinking about as a 51-year-old, and then just kind of the process and what's important, like what I would say to somebody in their 20s as a 51-year-old, right? Yeah. I think there's a ton of things to say about aging, and I hope that this is a conversation that's not only beneficial for you and I, but also kind of thought-provoking and beneficial for others as well. So, yeah, that's my opening thoughts.
Gotcha.
Whoa.
Parkour.
Yeah.
Okay, so
parkour.
With that being said, of those list of questions, which one do you want to start with?
Well, I just want to say, kind of like, let's start off with, how are you feeling about your birthday, turning 27, where you're at now as opposed to where you were when you were 26?
Yep.
What have you learned? What have you improved? What has maybe...
The questions are continuing to grow.
Yeah. Okay, let's go with that.
All right, let's start with that. So I turned 27 in March, and it was interesting because birthdays, and I think we've kind of are on the same page, they've become like big days of like reflection, of thinking about a lot of things. Not so much for me like celebrating and like doing a lot of fun stuff. Not because I don't want to do those things, but that's just not how this birthday turned out, and that's okay. But this birthday was big on just kind of thinking about how much like growth I've had in the past few years. which has been really big for me. It's been talked about on the podcast, having to do with like gaining confidence and kind of like figuring out who I am. And this kind of was like in recent weeks, I've had, and we talked about it in the last episode, I just have felt very kind of like solid in who I am as a person. There are still, things I'm working on and becoming more confident in. Case in point this morning and what we were chatting about. But overall, it just was kind of like, I don't know. It was, things are nice. What I'm looking forward to in my 27th year um, is just kind of like finding the joy of being an adult instead of, I used to always think of like being an adult and the adult problems that you have are so strenuous and so stressful and just kind of like not fun. I was like, oh, I want to be like a child. I want to be a kid that has no responsibility and just can kind of relax. And, being 27, I in no way want to act that way. I want to be way more adult. I want to dress more adult. I want to have, my own responsibilities and finding joy in having those responsibilities. Like, take like getting your own place, setting it up, decorating the apartment or house or whatever it may be, designing your own wardrobe instead of it just being what your mom picked for you when you were in, eighth grade.
Yeah.
Those kind of things I'm starting to like really enjoy and like get into. So I think this next year is just kind of like following the path that I'm kind of on with like my career and where I think I can take it. And then also just working on my own identity when it comes to kind of like the things I care about, how I dress myself, how I live. And yeah, just becoming, I think, more independent overall.
Well, I think, yeah, I mean, I applaud that and support that, with all my heart for sure. But I think one of the interesting things that you said in that, in the beginning, you said it's a time of introspection and kind of thinking things through and where you were and where you want to get to, whatever. And I think that for me, one of the worries that I have for people coming up, your age, maybe a little bit younger, whatever,
Yeah.
is that there is that lack of introspection. There
Oh,
is that lack of like, who am I? Where am I at? Now it's all about like, hey, like I need to post the perfect birthday selfie and I need
yeah.
to like wear the appropriate clothes and I need to like look like I'm like super successful
Yeah.
27-year-old or whatever it is. And without the actual reality, like fully putting on a blindfold for yourself
Yeah.
and for all others, right? So like when they look at your Instagram or whatever it is, TikTok, they see whatever,
Hmm.
but like I think there's a lack of kind of real accountability and real assessment and real introspection of, hey, where am I at and who am I and what where where have I gotten to? Where do I need to get to? How do I get there? And I think that's for me, like in celebrating my birthday, I think it's been a really interesting process because like my birthday's coming up this week. I don't know when this will be released, whatever, but
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting because as a kid, I I didn't like to be the center of attention. I didn't like birthday parties. I didn't like to really celebrate my birthday, and that's continued for the first kind of half century. And now I've gotten to the point where I feel somewhat successful. I feel somewhat stable. I feel
Yeah.
like it's oh man, this is kind of a self revelation right now, but I feel like it's okay to celebrate
Hmm.
like where I've gotten to and who I
Yeah.
am, and I feel good enough to where people can like I can accept being celebrated. Whoa,
That's huge. That's
that
big.
was actually just happened. Like that was not um that might take a moment to kind of process just in itself.
No.
But I think that's the beauty for me is I'm not afraid to look at the reality,
Mm.
right? I'm not like I've actually enjoyed getting older and kind of getting to the point where I'm at now. And yeah, I think there's a lot there for sure.
Yeah.
But no, that's part of like that aspect like to go into my 51st year is there's a sense of peacefulness and calmness and anticipation that hasn't been there
Yeah.
before.
It's interesting to hear you talk about that now versus kind of what we talked about on your 50th birthday. This is kind of like a completely different mindset. Not completely different, but if you
I would say it's almost 180 reversal.
okay, so
Yeah.
completely different.
Yeah.
Because I remember us talking a little bit about celebration on your birthday, and you were very kind of no, like I'm not. And I had even wanted to get Highland a gift, but I was so broke at the time. And he was very happy that I didn't get him a gift because he's like, I don't want gifts. And I was like, okay.
Yeah. That hasn't changed.
Yeah, then that's fair. I understand that. But it's just kind of cool to see that growth. What do you think has attributed to getting to that place?
Well, I think like a sense of like real introspection and like taking a look at reality and like being a little bit gracious with yourself and kind of allowing yourself to realize that there's always going to be this sense of imperfection and lack of achievement and kind of there's always these things in the future that you want to get to.
Yeah.
But being satisfied with where you're at now and being appreciative of the opportunities that you have and just a totally different kind of perspective. And just for me, like the reversal, the 180-degree reversal from this year to last year is the sense of it's like feeling a sense of self value, self worth, that it's okay to celebrate me.
Hmm.
I do bring value to this world.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have ever felt that way before. And I'm kind of like freaking out right now. I don't really know what's happening. And I'm kind of overwhelmed actually. And I'm kind of breaking down right now, like in front of everybody. Yeah, that feels really weird to say. That feels really weird to admit. And that feels really weird to be going through this process, right? Like on a video, and having this realization and kind of trying to process it in real time. But yeah, like, yeah, so I mean, like the coming weekend, like we're gonna spend some time together and just be with some friends and rented a house, like an Airbnb or whatever, VRBO, and just kind of like have fun and be like, yeah, like this is just a celebration of a birthday and life and friendships and things like that. And I would have never ever been willing to do that before.
And you kind of set it up too.
I absolutely did. And I mean, I asked people to be a part of it, and I specifically said in regard to like it's a birthday coming up, and yeah, that's pretty wild. Like that. I am
that's
kind of freaking out right now.
No, that's cool because I remember when we first, and just through the years we've kind of known each other. Starting out doing things like the podcast and whatnot, you don't like taking credit for literally anything.
No, I do not.
You like being like, nope, I didn't do anything. Or you'll say like, I can't help you. You can only help yourself, right? And there's, there is truth to that, but then I also think it's kind of there's a fine line.
It's a balance,
like,
yeah.
Yeah, you definitely can.
I definitely do.
You can, and you definitely do help each other. But like you were like so like, I don't help anyone. I don't do anything. And it's cool to see how like it's starting to turn, the tables are starting to turn and you're starting to feel it. But it's like a good thing. It's uplifting because I definitely agree with it. I always have agreed with it. But to actually see you start to realize it is it's pretty huge. Cool.
Yeah, it's freaking me out.
Yeah.
I don't exactly know how to handle things right now. So
okay. So what about, well, so I'll say for me, so a big thing for me in age is just like trying to be healthy has been a big thing.
Man.
So I'm, like I'm pretty physically fit. Haven't really had any that serious of injuries and whatnot. So I'm in a kind of good standing already.
Yeah.
I mean, I did play college lacrosse. I have, probably some, injury of some kind, but nothing too bad. And so like a big thing for me moving forward is like continuing to physically be fit, Not as a kind of like vanity thing, but more of as just like I want to feel like good when I move throughout the world and feel like I can still live the lifestyle that I do want to live. Not that my lifestyle is like crazy. But same thing with like mental health, right? And, getting better sleep. Like just trying to continue the process of creating discipline around showing up for myself when it comes to being healthy. Because there have been a lot of people that I've talked to, specifically when I worked in real estate. There is these guys that were like 30 and 35. And they kept just saying to me, they were like, Rowan, when you get to 30, you just hit a wall and it just everything stops working. It's terrible. And I'm gonna be honest, the guy who told me that didn't take care of himself whatsoever. He would just smoke weed, he would order out, he would just eat all the time. And I was like, hey man, like, I don't think so. Like, I think if you do the work beforehand, don't get me wrong, I know the older you get, the harder it is to do any kind of like physical activity. But, if you kind of take care of yourself throughout your life cycle, you'll be okay.
Well, I mean, as a person that's in their 50s, right? I I don't feel like I fit that wall yet. I definitely feel the aches and pains. I definitely feel like there's more of a struggle. But I mean, my whole life, people have told me too, like, oh man, when you get to 25, when you get to 30, when you get to 40, this will happen, this will happen, this will happen. And I mean, I feel like maybe a lot of it's luck, right? A lot of it's genes, genetics, environment, social standing, like economics, things like that.
Yep.
Like that definitely plays a huge part,
For
right?
sure.
Like
For sure.
I have been blessed in many, many ways. But I also don't like I try to hide the fact of how hard I actually do work. Like I mean, it takes me back to one of those episodes where like we were talking about being a slob and I was like, oh no, like this takes a lot of work.
No.
And I don't think people realize how much work I actually do
Behind the scenes, if you will.
well, I mean, like I do like take care of myself and I do like exercising and
Yep.
I do kind of emphasize food. Food is a big deal for me. The way that like sleep is a big deal. Like one of the things that makes me worried about like when I look in the face and I see like the bags underneath your eyes is to me that shows a lack of appropriate and beneficial sleep. Like the science behind sleep is incredible. The amount of damage repair and the amount of just positive things that happen when we are asleep at each different level, right? The four stages or whatever. There are things going on inside our body that are incredibly nourishing and beneficial and kind of life sustaining. And if we are not sleeping correctly, that is really, really detrimental to so many different aspects.
Right.
So, yeah, for me, like I prioritize those things and I do actually work hard. Like I hope that people don't realize that, but I actually do, and I do try to take care of myself. But in that regard, I feel like I've also gotten to this point in my life without hitting that wall or whatever
Yeah.
people were talking
Nice.
about. And I feel
Well, I feel like once you stop working, you hit the wall.
well,
or like the idea of letting yourself go. Like you have to actively show up and like be active to, continue to live like that healthy lifestyle.
yeah. No, I think that's maybe, maybe we say the same things again and again in this podcast, and maybe you've heard this before, but like life takes active participation,
Yeah.
right? Whether you're talking about mental health, physical health, spiritual health, whatever it is, emotional, it takes activity. It takes active participation. Nobody just stays physically fit, right? I mean, nobody.
Maybe you're blessed with some genetics, but for the most part, the average human being does not just stay physically fit.
Yeah, I mean, it like you and one of the things about getting older is that you do begin to lose muscle mass, things like that.
Yeah.
And it does take more work. Like I definitely have to work harder now. And, I'm not as fit as I used to be, but it does, like there is some aspects of aging that are just a part of it. And that you have to actively kind of counteract in a way. But at the same time, I mean, if you do the steps leading up to this point, it will make things so much easier.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, even now, like if I carry 10 pounds of extra weight, it is noticeable. Like I can feel it. Right. And it just makes everything that much harder.
Yeah.
Right. And if like, for example, like my highest weight was 233, and then like my ideal weight is about 211. And right now, like I fluctuate between 217 and 221. And those fluctuations, I can feel it. Like when I go play tennis, like my knees are a little bit more whatever,
Okay.
And it's like, dang, like just that small, like you think like that small margin.
Yeah.
But it's like, nope. And then like even today, like we're going to go have some like cinnamon, just sugar filled.
My mom made coffee cake.
Yeah. It's going to be incredible. And I'm so looking forward to it. But tomorrow, like I'll actually be suffering because of that sugar intake.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Emmett called me.
Oh,
I got excited. Anyways, well, the next thing I want to talk about when it comes to aging is something that I talked about with my mom a little bit, but because her birthday's coming up.
Oh,
in April as well.
Oh.
Or, no, August. Don't listen to this.
There's a pretty significant.
There is a huge significance. It's August. Her birthday's in August. I know this.
It is coming up though.
It's coming up. And we won't say her age. She is beauty. She is grace. But she has gotten to a point where, and I think you have mentioned this as well, and it's something that I really love about the older generations and just people that are starting to just increase in age. And it's like I've seen little through lines of it, but it is the lack of caring about other people's opinions.
Oh, I love it.
It's kind of the best part of getting older.
It's the most freeing you'll ever feel in your life. Like it's magic.
Yeah.
You get to a certain point where, I mean, in your teens, in your 20s, 30s, whatever, however long it lasts.
Yeah. I think it also depends on the individual too.
Well, and I think with social media, it just exacerbates that so much worse,
That's
right?
fair.
Like, I think what I cared about coming up is totally different than what somebody is coming up now, right? But
true.
Yeah, you do get to a point where you just do not give a rip, man. I mean, I think I've said this story before. I don't know if we've released it or not, but like I like to play tennis and I play quite a bit, and like I always used to buy like white, or I liked gray. Like maybe if I was going crazy, I would buy like maybe some navy blue shoes or whatever.
Okay.
And now I've gotten to the point where it's just like the most loud, like fluorescent orange and pink and
crazy colors.
The more loud the shoes, the better.
Yeah.
And I just do not care. I'm like, whatever. Like if you and to me, that's just that's a small example, but that like to me that means everything, because as a kid, I would have never ever been willing to do that. That's a 20-year-old. I wouldn't have been able to do that.
Well, something that's interesting for me. We'll see what kind of through line this goes to, but so in high school, when I was in high school, I was so against like drinking and smoking and like all of those things. And to the point where like it gave me like a great amount of like anxiety and like anger. I don't know why. My dad literally sat me down freshman year, all three of us boys, and was like,
freshman high school.
And was like, you can drink, you can smoke. There's nothing I can do to stop you. But like, I want you to be safe. Like, there's no drinking and driving. There's no smoking and driving. You never cross, never do the same thing. Like, don't drink and smoke at the same time. Always be safe, and like, call me if you ever need me. Which, by the way, for you parents out there, reverse psychology. I never want to do this thing ever. And so he had told me that, and then I just kind of had like, anytime I heard about someone smoking or drinking, I would judge them so harshly. I was like, and I was just like, they're an idiot. They do stupid things that they're like, I just was so judgmental. And now I'm 27 and now I work with some high schoolers and they tell me about their activities and they are like party like activities. And I don't get that way. I don't judge them. I like have an understanding being, like 10 years older,
Yeah.
being like, oh, like, yeah, like you're a high schooler. Like those are the things that like you're gonna go out and do and you're gonna like experiment in those ways. Sometimes it's not the most intelligent thing to do. But like I said, I can't change them. I can't tell them to do anything. And it just is kind of, it was just like it was St. Patrick's Day and someone I work with was sharing with me like their activities on St. Patrick's Day. And in the past, I would have been like, that's such an irresponsible thing to do. Like, why would you do that?
Oh.
Right. And I like was able to laugh at it and whatnot and kind of just like poke at it, like tease in a way, but
Yeah.
not in a way that gave off like I'm judging you. Like there was a level of acceptance. So it was just kind of cool to see how like as I'm getting older, I'm getting way less judgmental.
Yeah.
Not that I'm old or anything, but like just in general, like I used to be super, super judgmental.
Yeah. I think that's super funny because in my mind, I was thinking like I'm like, oh yeah. Like as you get older, you just become super less judgmental and like you just accept everybody and this and that. And then I thought about it. I'm like, whoa, 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 Highland, not true. Like I am willing to judge the heck out of people now.
Yeah.
Like at this, it's now two different extremes, right?
Mm.
Like I'm super accepting,
Yeah.
especially with younger kids, because I mean that's who I work with, and I'm just like, yeah, you guys have no prefrontal cortex at all. Like you have no ability to kind of rationalize. Like
Yeah.
you're gonna do some stupid stuff, man.
Yeah.
And then like as I've gotten older too, though, I feel like I'm just becoming like the curmudgeonly, grumpy old man. Like I'm just like this generation and like these people and da da da, and it's just like, come on, Highland, like what the heck? But yeah, it's a really it's such an interesting process, and I think like one of the things that I guess in this episode, like if I was gonna say like any kind of advice for younger people, I would just say one, really take care of yourself. Health is like health is the greatest wealth is no joke. I
Yeah.
mean that's super super important. Like it like
The
as
problem
you
is when you're young, you feel invincible. So
you are invincible.
you are, but you don't realize it,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like I'm getting to the point where I like when I gets comes to lifting, like I do some stretching, I do mobility work to ensure that like I'm okay. I still feel semi invincible, not fully,
Yeah.
but I still feel very young
Yeah.
in my body.
Yeah.
But the like when I was younger, I was like, oh my God, like I could just run forever. Like I'm fine.
Yeah.
And now I miss that so much.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a tricky process. I mean, you definitely at some point you do begin to realize one, that you're not invincible,
Yeah.
and then two, that at some point this will end. And I mean, I don't want to make it morbid, but there's magic in that too, because you begin to appreciate moments more. You begin to appreciate, well, hopefully, I mean, your relationships more, the magical moments that you have, and you begin to like dismiss, like when I have, like when oh man, there's so many interesting things about this. But like when I was younger and I had a bad day, it would mess me up. Like I would think about it and I would say, oh, I had a bad day. And I would allow it to kind of leak into the next day. And
Wow.
and now I just look at it and it's like, holy God, this day was incredibly hard and challenging and like almost freaking destroyed me. And tomorrow's a brand new day.
Yeah.
Like it's a brand new slate. And you just have a different perspective and you're just allowed to kind of think things through in a different way. And that there is definite magic in that for sure.
Yeah. And that's something that I've kind of gotten a little better at as well. Cause I think, when like you're in middle school and whatnot, I felt that way definitely where it's like I'm having a terrible week. Like I haven't had like a terrible week. I've had bad days. I've had like emotional days, rough days.
Yeah.
I mean, even like on the topic of birthdays, like my birthday itself was like a rough day for me. It was emotional. It necessarily wasn't like a great day, but then the next day I was fine.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm able to, it's nice being like, hey man, sun comes up tomorrow. Like you can start over. Don't worry about it. Whatever happened is in the past.
Yeah.
Which is nice. But I think like it is crazy how talking to younger generations about certain topics that like really matter to me and like my age, and I think your age as well, how they can't like conceptualize it because they're not there yet. Like for instance, I was talking with one of the people about like their consumption of social media, and we're gonna have an episode this week about it. So stay tuned for that. There will be one where we talk more about it. But even me just talking to them about it, they really didn't understand like the severity. Like the way when we mention the stats, it's like, holy cow.
Yeah.
Versus when I tell it to them, it's more of just kind of like, huh.
Just the way it is.
Yeah. And it's incredible. And
they're like, of course.
The nice thing is in the past, I'd be like, this person is acting so dumb, or like they're being ridiculous and judgmental. I'd be very judgmental. And now I just go like, Rowan, they're 18. Like, yeah. Of course. Like they're not thinking about that. So it's just like, I feel like as I've gotten older, I've been more understanding of just kind of how people operate. And honestly, I know we say the saying a lot, and sometimes you hate to hear it, but like, congratulations, you're a human being, has helped me also do that with others. Like not just with myself, but just be like, Rowan, they're just figuring it out. Like they're just being a human being. They're just living their experience. They don't know what the right wrong thing to do is. There isn't even a right or wrong thing to do.
Well, I mean, yeah, that like that. Oh man, I cannot emphasize how important perspective is, right? And I think for me, part of the magic of getting older is allowing people to create their own lives, right? And like to try and be a positive influence within that relationship, right? Like in my work with younger kids, I kind of approach it the same way as your father. Like I just say, hey, like this is the reality. This is where your brain's at. This is what you have the ability. Like you don't have a lot of ability to rationalize or to like think ahead or to kind of intellectualize things. And it is very spur of the moment. You are like for a teenager, you are just reacting to stimuli. You're just like, oh, let's do this. Like let's and you just go. And so like the just the perspective of that and the knowledge of that allows me to be a little bit more forgiving and accepting. But at the same time, like going through that and having made all of the mistakes that I've made, I can kind of give a little bit of input and be like, hey, this is a situation. Like you can think about it right now and kind of try to figure it out. But in the end, it's like life is meant to be lived and life is meant to be experienced, and I'm all for that. Yeah. I want everyone at all ages to maximize their input and output from this life.
Yeah. I never want to tell people how to live their life, but I do, like if I hear something that I believe is probably not like the best behavior or something like that, I do like to nudge. I like to give a little nudge. That's it. I'm not overstepping any boundaries. I'm not telling them they're wrong, but I like to, just kind of like shed some light. Like I like to take their blindfold and just like maybe lift up their eye a little bit, like, hey, look at this. And I think with your work, that's kind of what you do. I think
I want to tell people how to live their lives constantly.
I mean, I'd like to, but I understand that, like,
I just Rowan,
you're not going to be liked.
A shirt and just be like, "This is the way to do it, buddy." But no, that's not the best approach by any means. But yeah, I cannot deny all the time. In my mind, I'm just raging. I'm just like, "Oh, you're a freaking idiot."
Well, I've had a lot of that recently. Specifically, like I've started to make more friends and whatnot, and I've heard about their like dating stories, and like there's nothing worse than hearing about a friend that has a significant other, whether it be a boyfriend or girlfriend, that you're like, wow, they're treating you really, really, really bad.
Yeah.
You should not let them do that and break up with them.
Yeah.
But you can't, you can.
You absolutely can.
You absolutely can. Go up to them and say like, no, break up with them. We're not saying to do that. We're not trying to stop people's chance at true love.
Yeah.
That's not the point of our podcast. But, you know, I can't help myself but nudge. I like being a helpful person. I think when I nudge, I'm helpful. And I think I will continue to do that as I grow in age. But at the same time, like, as I get older, I start to feel better about people making their own decisions,
Yeah.
which is nice. And it's just kind of, I don't know. It's been a very interesting thing because when I was younger, and I mean, even like in the last 2 years, I like always thought I knew what I was talking about or I was right. Like I thought I was like a really, really good person. I was like, no, I'm like one of the good ones. And now I've kind of realized, like, Rowan, you sometimes you have no idea what you're doing. For instance, like there was someone that I judge very hard that they're a new friend. They'd become a friend over recent months and whatnot.
Okay.
And you know, as we've talked about on the podcast, I went through a whole relationship thing, and after it, I was like, you know what? I'm like the relationship guru. I know what a good relationship versus a bad one is. I know when one is destined to fail. They'll get divorced, it won't work out, yada yada yada. And I was very kind of like in that mindset. Why? I don't know. Now I don't think that at all. So don't think that that's where I'm coming from. But with this individual, I like judge them very hard out the gate by being like, I don't think their relationship will ever last. I was very kind of like, no, like I can see the writing on the wall. And now, after just like time and just conversations I've had with this individual and with others, and just my own experience, and Emmett going through his breakup and talking with him, I've realized like, Rowan, everyone has their own experience in life and how they're going to move through it. How you move through it and how you feel about relationships and your experience is so individualized. Don't put it on other people.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I think one freeing aspect for myself is, and I think I've always kind of had this mentality, but it's much more prevalent now, and it's much more just I guess freeing. But I am happy to say I don't know that like there's I have no problems. Like people want to come to me and say, you know, what's this, and treat me as something of an expert in certain areas.
Mm-hmm.
And I I do have some knowledge,
Yep.
absolutely, but at the same time I have no problem, like if I don't know something, it's very easy for me to just be like, no man, I have no
Yep.
idea. And that is actually very, very, like that. I think that's something that's very valuable to me. And I think it's a really good skill to have, because I think a lot of us, especially as adults, like I see this in working with kids, the adults think that they should know the answer. And
Mm.
so they just give one, even if it's a bad answer.
Oh.
And it's like, dang, man, like think it through. And if you don't have the answer, it's okay. Like you don't need to have all the answers to everything in this life. And then the other thing that I just want to say real quick is I think that I have become really good at being tricky in how I give advice,
Oh yeah.
right? Like it's not, I don't think it's super forceful. I don't think it's in your face, but I can kind of like manipulate my way in
That's the nudging.
from the behind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just kind of like, hey, like, what if you think about it this?
Yeah.
And so I appreciate that. Like as I've gotten older, I think that's something that I've developed.
I think that's a really important skill to have because there are so many honestly, people don't want to hear your advice. You know, like if you have a problem and you were just talking about it and a random stranger came up to you, was like, hey, you should do this, you'd be like, that guy sucks, I
Yeah.
don't want to be around that guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's a big thing, and like, you know, that's why that's a big thing about the podcast is, you know, this is not an advice podcast. We're not here to just be like, hey, this is how you should live your life. It's more about like we talk about our own personal experience, we share them. Whatever you take from it is great. There are certain things that we value and we share that we're like, oh, I think these are important things to think about. But it's not like, hey, this is the way to live. This is the right way. This is the wrong way.
Well, you know what's really weird? And I don't know, like I hope that people think I'm a little bit wise, but like I don't advertise it.
Mhm.
Um, but I think this is a phenomenon that I find very strange. But the less advice I actually give, like directly, the more people seek me out for advice.
Yeah.
And it's like, how does that work?
Yeah.
But it's just like the reverse psychology, right? Like, I don't know. But I think that is, I don't know. But yeah, I just think like there's so many, like when we get into like the psychology of it and things like that, there's so many things that I could say, but
don't. Thanks for
no. I will not.
Well, with that being said, I think that's all for this episode on aging. And we appreciate you guys watching and listening. If you like this video, feel free to share it, like it, maybe subscribe to the channel. I don't know. You can do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
The book is available in the podcast description. For now, we're possibly going to be doing some giveaways and whatnot. I'll keep you guys updated on that. But feel free to check us out on YouTube, Spotify, anywhere you can find podcasts. We're there. So thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you in the next one.